LOL take two. LOL take two. LOL take two. Now listen. A couple of weeks ago, we were getting ready for a trip to Alaska to see the Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights. When I was attending the University of Minnesota, I saw them once on a clear, cold Minneapolis night in February and almost drove off the road. I was so blown away. Obviously, they have generated fascination for we mortals since forever. They happen around the Arctic Circle, and Fairbanks is a hop, skip, and about 150 miles away from the circle, so we thought we'd pop up to see them over a long weekend. You can't have clouds if you want to see them, but we thought that if we went up for 4 days, we were bound to see them at least once, right? I read an article Oprah wrote called Sunrise Faith, where even if you can't see the sun under the layer of clouds, it's there, and you have to have sunrise faith. With all due respect, dear Oprah, I'm spending top dollar to fly to Fairbanks, Alaska, rent a 4-wheel drive in 5-degree weather to go 20 miles north on dirt roads and pitch black to a lodge owned by a guy named Mock. I don't need Northern Lights faith. I need good weather. Bill kept checking the weather forecast and saying, I think we are going to miss the Northern Lights. And I'll be honest, I was ready to pop him. Contrast this with our trip to Sweden, one of my several motherlands, last summer, where we witnessed the midnight sun on the summer solstice. We sat outside on June 21st, the longest day of the year, stuffed to the tits with Aunt Erna's Swedish meatballs, strawberry cake, and salmon with dill sauce, and it was still light out at midnight. Of course, we were all still giddy from dancing the Små Grodorna that afternoon. That is the famous frog dance around a huge maypole that has been raised by a bunch of drunken Swedes in little Swedish outfits. What this has to do with the longest day of the year, I have no idea. And even though I am not a very good dancer, my Swedish frog dance, and I mean this in the most humble way, was extraordinary and captured the subtle nuances of our amphibious friends. I'm not sure where I picked up my favorite go-to birthday phrase, wishing you another great trip around the sun, but I think it's a really nice wish for somebody because it's true. That's what we're doing. We're all just on one big cosmic carousel, and it's important to find something to break it up and celebrate the trip. Pagan traditions have always been based around nature, and we're a way for our species to stop and celebrate an otherwise dull and laborious trip around the sun. But now it seems we humans have created so much overload, we had to invent Xanax to handle the overwhelm we have curated for ourselves. Most of us celebrate the day of our birth, but really, any day can be used to celebrate a step on this amazing journey. Mankind has picked December 31st to collectively celebrate the trip. Okay, sure, that works. Why not? Whether it's 250,000 people jammed into Times Square or hordes of people in Rio lighting candles and letting them float out into the bay, the quest for a perfect trip around the sun celebration seems to bring on immense pressure, and if not careful, can be a setup for misery. My folks often hosted the neighbor's New Year's Eve party in the basement of our split-foyer house in suburban Iowa. One of the neighbors was a salesman for Oscar Mayer and provided bags of little smoky sausages for the celebration. My mom's large crock-pot nearly overflowed with them, simmering in barbecue sauce. We kids hung out upstairs, watching Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve and gorging ourselves on little smoky sausages, dooming our cholesterol for decades to come. Mom also made another fancy 1970s Midwest hors d'oeuvre, pickle cream cheese pinwheels. These were a crunchy dill pickle wrapped in paper-thin Earl Budding ham, smeared with a layer of cream cheese and then thinly sliced. They were so delicious. Salt, fat, what's not to like? It's kind of funny they are again popping up everywhere as a keto low-carb appetizer. It just proves that everything old is new again. The neighbors would bring in the new year, rocking out in the basement to You're So Vain by Carly Simon, American Pie by Don McLean, or that real get you on your feet and dance song, Brand New Key by Melanie. Senior year of high school, I was doing a production of Grease at Ingersoll Dinner Theater, and the woman playing Miss Lynch was an actress named Rosa Chagnon, who had actually been in burlesque. She was a salty, big lady with a great laugh and terrific sense of humor, and her stage name back in the day was Baby Dumpling, the irony of which was not lost on me. Baby Dumpling's gimmick was getting 4 tassels, one on each boob and one on each butt cheek, all twirling at once, first in the same direction, then opposite directions. She appeared on the most popular burlesque circuits, and due to her twirling talent, she was referred to as the girl with remote control. I played Vince Fontaine in Grease, and Rosa and I had a lot of downtime together in the dressing room where she told me great showbiz stories and gave me sage advice like, "Honey, you gotta toot your own horn in this business because nobody else is gonna toot it." Our final performance of Grease was New Year's Eve, 1980, and the management convinced Rosa to don her tassels one more time for our closing performance. Sure enough, after we took our curtain calls, Baby Dumpling appeared and told some jokes, sang a song, and finally got those tassels twirling. She wisely only had them on her boobs at this stage of the game, but God love her, she got them going in the same direction and then in opposite directions. It was amazing and a great way to bring in that next trip around the sun. One Christmas, my friend Sarah got us fabulous seats for the world-famous New Year's Day Rose Parade, which is just one suburb away in Pasadena. It sounded like a good idea at the time, but turned out to be just god-awful. First of all, you have to be there at the crack of dawn. Your ticket gives you one spot on a bleacher that would barely be enough room for a toddler, let alone an adult's rear end. Then there's the bathroom situation. There are none, and you are stuck there for hours in the cold. Don't get me wrong, the floats in person are gorgeous, and I'm glad I did it once, but never again. I will bring in the new year in my lounge pants, on my own couch, with my own bathroom, and watch the parade on TV. Thank you very much. The B-2 bomber flies right over our house as it heads for the Rose Parade, so if you're not awake to bring in the new year, you will be when it rattles the windows of the house. One year we celebrated New Year's Eve at Disney Hall with a concert by Adele Vadim, a.k.a. Idina Menzel. A classy way to bring in the new year, right? During the middle of the concert, we smelled this horrible smell, then saw people bailing like crazy from a couple of rows across the aisle. Turns out some poor person had gotten sick and vomited all over 2 rows of people in front of him. Oh, it was so hideous. I think we heard her sing Defying Gravity, but I'm not sure. But those 2 rows of people certainly defied gravity as they ran for the exits. A couple of years ago, my mom was out for Christmas, and I always thought it would be fun to volunteer to decorate the Rose Parade floats. Bill, my mom, and I showed up to this huge airplane hangar-type building. Once checked in, we were assigned a float and a supervisor. The supervisors all seemed to be women out of a 70s prison movie. I was gluing seeds on a petal of a huge flower, and our particularly grumpy boss rushed over. "Why are you doing it like that?" "That's how you said to do it." She grabbed my bucket of seeds, took a scraper, and scraped off all the seeds I had just spent an hour gluing on. "Do it again," she barked at me as she left. Bill and Mom looked at me with terror in their eyes. And like El Chapo, we soon began plotting our escape. Our 30-minute lunch break was approaching, and I was sweeping up our area when the boss lady appeared again, scaring me to death. "What are you doing that for?" I don't want to come back to a mess after we come back from lunch, which we will definitely be coming back from. Lunch." I was making no sense, but she pretended to buy it. Finally, the doors to the sweatshop were opened, and Bill, Mom, and I left with the other prisoners. Volunteers. Then we kept walking to our car and zoomed out of the parking garage, frequently checking the rearview mirror, fully expecting our boss to be chasing us down in her Subaru Outback station wagon. We later saw our float in the parade on TV, and the flowers that I had been working on, didn't even face the cameras. I think I finally learned my lesson about anything having to do with the Rose Parade. Stay home. On New Year's Eve 1999, everybody was afraid planes would fall out of the sky. The electric grid would turn off and the world would end as we knew it. So we stayed home and had one of the best New Year's Eves ever. No driving, no overpriced noisy restaurants, no being vomited on by strangers. We celebrated with just us, a fire in the fireplace and a pitcher of caipirinhas. It proved to be a great template for celebrating another trip around the sun. And as it turns out, we did not make it to Alaska last weekend to see the Northern Lights. No, there was a blizzard in Fairbanks, and so we bailed at the last minute. Bill had been right, damn it. But it was a good thing because the weather ended up being horrible the entire weekend. We would have been stuck in the boondocks, eating frozen pizza, drinking box wine, and staring up at clouds. So instead, we decided to have a staycation at home. A true staycation. No errands, no agenda, no checking work emails or contact with anybody. We hung out with the dog, went for walks in the gym, attended a concert. It was lovely. So really, why wait until December 31st to celebrate this 92.96 million mile trip we all make around the sun every year? It really is astonishing that it keeps on happening, no matter how hard we humans try and so often succeed at messing everything up. So whether it's New Year's Eve or summer or winter solstice or some arbitrary date like celebrating the start of the 3rd year of your podcast series, which would be this episode, yay, give yourself a little gratitude staycation and celebrate this trip around the sun, even if it's just for 1 hour of wonder. Hell, why not go all out and make it super special with a big old crock-pot of little smoky sausages while you're at it? LOL take two. LOL take two. LOL take two. Ba 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 bum.